Hello everybody, Cloud9 here, and today I'm going to be doing something a little different. Recently I've been building a lot of aircraft and some spacecraft, and I'd like to return back to the ground. I'm going to do Tamiya's 1/48 scale Jagdtiger. This is a really nice kit. Let me just pull this back. You can see the box art. Get rid of the glare. Look at that, isn't that just beautiful artwork? Man. You know, it's nice when you buy a kit and then you find out that because the box art's nice, but then you look at it again and the kit's as nice, just as nice as the box art. It's like a little happy surprise. So I'm building this one for a couple of reasons. Let me just move this back. There. That'll do it. I'm building this one for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'd really like to build this tank. It looks like a fun little change of pace for a little while. And the other reason is I recently unlocked this tank in World of Tanks, and it's a very, very fun, very devastating tank. I really love it a lot. That being said, I will get back to World of Tanks in a minute because it is something that is brought up once in a while here. So let's take a look inside this box. This is actually take two, because the first time I did this I had to remove all the parts from the plastic bags, and they were all stapled together. It was a not so fun mess. Yeah, I'll put that there, and I'll put that there. So the first sprue that we have in the box is sprue D. You can see here we have the barrels, we've got some exhaust caps there, we've got some of the equipment that you put on the exterior of the Tiger. We've got a bit of the mantle cover here. It's supposed to be a cast, and they've nicely molded that in there. And we have a couple of tank commanders here. One's a driver and one is the commander, so they're both not commanders. They look a little small. That's kind of my only complaint. They look a little too small for a 48 scale, and but they still look really good. I'm not going to use them. I'm going to have everything closed up. And here is the main body of the tank, and it is big. Even in 48 scale, this is pretty darn big. This is actually bigger than a 35th scale Sherman tank, and a little bit bigger than a Panther in 35th scale. I think the Panther is wider though, but this is a little longer. But yeah, beautiful detail. They've got a lot of stuff, nicely captured in here, recessed panels and all that nice goodiness that we love. And we have here part of the lower half of the body. There's some nice detail on the bottom here, and here we have all the forgot what they're called, idlers or lever arms. I've forgotten. Tanks are not my first knowledgeable machinery. So moving on to the next one, we have two sets of these. These are the tracks and all the wheels and such, and the drive wheels and sprockets, and I hope I got all that right. Anyways, we have the tracks are link and length, and if you're worried about link and length tracks, out of the couple Tamiya kits that I've built with the link and length tracks, they're absolutely wonderful. I had no problems with them whatsoever. I thought they were just beautiful to work with, and if I ran into a problem with them, it was actually my fault. You just have to make the fit very nice and tight, and you'll have very nice looking tracks in the end. So next we have a bag of poly caps. This is for the couple of the wheels and the barrel and such. And sprue C, this is the final sprue of the kit. We've got a bunch of the doors. We've got a couple, this is the back door here, or back hatch, and here's the doors for it. We've got this nice looking rope and the covers for the wheels, and all of it's just really, really nice. So you can build some interior detail in there. There's probably a couple aftermarket sets you can buy, but there is no real interior detail in the kit. I don't know why people get upset about that to begin with. I know there's some modelers who get so mad that there's no interior detail, and then they close all the hatches, and you kind of go, what were you complaining about again? Besides, most people that want the interior detail are going to go pay for it instead. So this is kind of cool. You get these metal discs here, and these are weights for the kit to add a bit more realism to it. And they're quite heavy. Like, they've got quite a bit of good weight to it. So I'm pretty curious to see how that's gonna, fare with the tank, how it's gonna change, because it's pretty cool on the Panzer, Kampfwagen, and the Tiger that I built. And looking at the instructions, these are typical, beautiful Tamiya instructions with little to no problems. I don't think you'll have any difficulty, reading these up and figuring out what's what and what goes where and who is what and all that jazz. And the last one that we get here is another piece of paper. And I like this. This is the history of the Jagdtiger. And has the 3 camo and schemes and decaling instructions inside. So I'm pretty excited about picking out one of these. I don't know which one I'll do. I might do the one that's, just on the box art there. But what a mean looking tank. Such an awesome thing. And lastly, here are the decals, and they're very nice register, and they should be pretty nice. So nothing too fancy about those, because usually when you get tanks, you don't get a lot of decals. But like I said, about World of War tanks, yes, I do play World of War tanks. I have had people ask me, can I play with you on World of War tanks? The answer to that is I'm going to have to say no, because the last time I tried was about a year ago, and I didn't know that they were in the UK. They got quite upset with me because I'm in Canada. Canada is in the North American server, and I only have 2 servers to play with here, and that is the East and West Coast of North America, and I cannot switch to anywhere else in the world. So, yeah, this individual got quite upset with me. They thought I was trying to stiff them or what not, and so, yeah, the other reason is I don't want you to know secretly how bad I am at video games. I'll only bring you down, so I'm going to go and stick to something I can manage, which is a plastic tank, and I will have once it's built and painted, I will have my own tank battles here on my hobby desk, in which I will never lose. My own World of War tanks, so to speak. And so yeah, I'm just going to go and have fun with this build. So I built the lower half of the hull here, and construction of it is really straightforward, and everything fits together perfectly, basically, which is awesome. No problems. I just want to see what it would look like with the top half on here. And this is just there we go. That was my problem. Okay. So it fits on here pretty well. It looks very nice, formidable. And one of the things I want to try doing on this one that I didn't do on the Tiger, but I've seen other modelers, doing it, is to replace all the hatches with like wire. They're just these triangular blobs, or sorry, not triangular, rectangular blobs on here. And so I'd like to replace all these with actual wire, just to give them a bit of depth and more dimension, a bit of realism to the kit. But I just wanted to do this part here because this is actually the next step, is adding in the disc weights here. So these fit on here like that. Come on, there we go. It's not like terribly heavy. Like, yeah, you definitely notice it, but it's like, you're not going to use this kind of tank as like a paperweight or something. So let's just put those there, and this will be super quick. Actually, I'll use this one instead. And like the Panther that I have and the Tiger that I already built, the chassis here, this was all die cast metal, and they primed it. And I like this better, having these little weights in here. The new Panzer Kampfwagen that came out a couple of years ago was the same thing. It had these, I don't know, rods in there for the weights, and it's just easier to work with. You know, I don't mind the die cast chassis, but this is way easier to manage, because then you have to like glue all these pieces on it. You know, with super glue in this one, you just use your regular styrene cement. So, yeah, pretty cool. So yeah, this slides in like that. Awesome. So, I'm going to go and build the barrel and all that jazz right now. So what I've done here is I wanted to have all these hatches with these nice handles, which is something usually you find in 35th scale, but 48th scale they haven't done that. I've always wanted to try this, so this seemed like as good a time as any to do it. It's quite simple. All you do is you take your pin vise and you drill 2 holes, and like I said, all they have is like a little rectangular block on there. So then I'd cut it off, I'd sand it down nice and flat, and I used some guitar string here. Where is it? Here we are. So yeah, it's just some little guitar string. This is an old one, and I just grab it like this in the pliers and press down on it, and then let me get that frame. Press down on it, twist, bend. I'd go measure it. Okay, it's going to be about there. Twist, bend, and put them together. Super glue them, and here I've got these nice little handles. So I'm going to let these dry, and then I'm going to add them onto the model. But I wanted to show it, like actually making them, but it was way too complicated to do, because it's so tiny and so fussy. I don't have a camera good enough to do something like that. So, yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to show that, but anyways, you might see them in the more detailed pictures at the end. But they look pretty good. I use this little block of styrene as a measuring guide for how deep to make them. So that looks pretty good, and look a lot better, of course, once they're painted over. But it's just adding a little bit of extra detail onto your model. Come on. Yeah, that looks pretty darn good. Cool. Glad I got to try that out for a change. Got most of the tank done here, and I'm just gluing on the covers here. I just want to show this because this is really cool, how well and precision the fit this is. This was quite, because that's always like one of the things that amazes me when you get to Tamiya kit. You get these things that are very complicated to put together, and then they fit perfectly, and you're just kind of sitting there dumbstruck. So this fits on the side and there. Okay. So that fits on here, like so. If I need to, I can use some extra thin cement in a little while. And then this fits like that. It's perfect. It's absolutely a perfect fit. This would usually kind of like scare me on a model. It's like, don't know if I got that lined up properly. Nope, it just fits perfectly. It's pretty sweet. There we go. So just press on the sides here, and there you go. Looks pretty cool. So I'm quite happy about that. So yeah, I've got everything on here, I think, or close to everything on here. I haven't sanded down the sides of the barrel yet. I need to do that still. Clean those up. But this fits. This will fit on here, like so. And of course, like that'll be there. And actually, I'm thinking I can airbrush it pretty soon. I'm very close to airbrushing. I'm gonna go look through the instructions again, make sure I didn't miss anything. But man, it's such a big tank. It's pretty sweet. I'm really curious to see like how big this is in 35th scale. I'm gonna go find someone online that has the dimensions. There we go. But awesome tank. So yeah, this just the fit of everything is perfect. Absolutely perfect. Like when I built the 32nd scale P51, out of all the ones that I've built, the 32nd scale aircraft line, the P51 was the one that I thought was the most complicated of all the builds. And it was the best fitting of, not quite the best fitting, but for the complications of the engineering, everything just fit perfectly. And if there was a mistake, guaranteed it was the fault of the modeler, not the engineering of the kit. So, that being said, I'm going to go and yeah, double check, but I think I'm getting pretty close to airbrushing here now, so that's pretty cool. Okay everybody, I haven't filmed any of this painting the Tiger here. Why? Well, the first time I did it was the yellow, and I replayed the footage and it turned bad. So the second time, I tried filming, but basically I had my face about here, and I had my airbrush about here, and I was trying to paint this whole thing. I can't, I'm sorry, this is one of those times. I know you guys have commented that you want to see me painting and airbrushing and stuff like that, but I'm sorry, this is one of those times where I can't do it. I really, really can't. It's just way too hard for me to do. But I'll do this kind of, intermission here. But yeah, I'm really, really happy with how this turned out. This was all freehanding. Took me over an hour to do all this. The dark brown that is. And I actually at one point overheated my compressor, and so I had to quit and then come back and finish basically the back section here. But yeah, I'm super excited with how this has turned out, and I can't wait to paint the green on. I'm going to paint the green on again. I'm sorry I can't film it. But today I actually went into town, and what's really cool, I found the oil paints I was hoping to find. So I'm going to do a dot filter wash on this tank. So I'm pretty excited about that. And the last thing I want to say, because I keep getting asked this a lot, and so I need to start putting this in the video, is the colors I use. So this yellow right here that I use is dark yellow, XF50 Tamiya acrylic. The brown is red brown, Tamiya acrylic again, XF64. And I'm going to use green, and that is XF61 dark green. So those are the three colors that I am using. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go paint the green on here, and then I'm supposed to paint a bunch of dots everywhere on the tank. So I'm going to do that. So what I've done to help simplify my painting here, I've gone ahead and colored where every section is, all these little waves in here. So, I know that all the brown in here, and now I'm going to paint all the green in here. And this really, really helped make my project and it just went a lot easier because I was like, oh, this goes like this. You know, you're not having to decipher what each color is on your model. So I'm gonna go and airbrush, and hopefully I'll have as nice a result as I did here painting up the brown. I hope I don't have to have this fictitious desert camouflaged panther or tiger, sorry. But we'll wait and see. It's looking pretty good. Like I said, my airbrush and everything was really cooperating with me, and I hope that continues. This is half an hour of painting. I haven't finished it yet. My arm is killing me from doing all this fine detail, and yeah, I need a new compressor if I'm gonna do stuff like this, you know, on a regular basis. I got too much overspray everywhere, and it's simply because my compressor doesn't have a regulator on it. Let me just show you guys, because you guys ask me about this thing once in a while. So this is my compressor. It's just an oilless little fussy thing. It does the job well. I've tried buying hoses or gauges so it limits the airflow, but I've never really been able to get them to work well. And the last one I bought was for a wrong compressor. I misread the gauge on there. I thought it said 30 psi or 35 psi, but it actually says 350 psi. So it's actually meant for, you know, the big tank. It's an oilless compressor, and I had to replace the on-off switch here. I had to tape this up because it actually rattled itself off the table here. You can see it's clamped down on the sides, and it broke off right here. So I clamp it down so it doesn't, you know, rattle. The thing is terrible at moving around, and yeah, it fell off the table. This broke. Yeah, I had to tape this up yesterday. Actually, it fell on this, and it actually punctured a hole in my hose, so I got to replace that. Um, but yeah, I want to buy a new one. It's a matter of getting enough funds to buy the one that I want, because, you know, this is one of those tools where you gotta shovel out good money and pay for a good compressor. It's not one of these things that you want to really be stingy about. And this is an expensive compressor. It's about $150 compressor. Like I said, it gets the job done for now, but yeah, for doing finer detail, the Neo Iwata airbrush, it can do fine detail. I've done fine detail with it. I've seen other people do really, really tiny detail. So it's a good airbrush. I just need a better compressor to go along with it. So that's down the road from whenever. But I'm going to move on back over here. And yeah, the green camouflage is kind of weird because it starts like here, and you make kind of this J shape down here, and you just stop out of nowhere. Kind of the same here. It just, and I double checked and actually triple checked on this one. You start here and you just go down the flap, and you go up over and you go down the flap. Sorry, covers. Um, but it's just, you know, it's kind of weird. Yeah, I'm gonna go start painting the top here, the side, and then down the back, and then the muzzle and the barrel. So I still have quite a bit to do. Like I said, this has been about half an hour of work. It's been fun, haven't run into any problems. My paint is a little too thin, but I'm working my way around that. And kind of my only other problem with it is I'm painting these lines, and I'm not going over the brown enough. And so like when I paint and I finish and I look back, you can like see little bits of the yellow coming through. So I have to keep that in mind while I'm painting it, but it's actually going pretty well. Like I said, everything's been cooperating pretty well so far. So I'm gonna go and finish this up here. So I had originally recorded a bunch of stuff before this, but too boring, too slow, so I cut it all out. Here's the MG42 mounted on a stand there. Gotta paint the stand and finish painting more of the MG42. Here's the hull, upper hull, nicely painted, I think. Got all the dots everywhere. And I'm really happy with how this turned out, to be honest. I think it looks pretty good. I decided to, I've done this camel pattern before because it's one of my favorites. And usually I go overboard doing the dots, but this time I specifically followed whatever the instructions were. And it looks a lot better. Less is better than, plastering tons of them on there. And it helps it not be too busy, So what I ended up doing, this is what I recorded, but it was just boring. All the wheels and stuff like that. So what you have to pay attention to is these are kind of each in their own little subcategories. So the drive sprocket here is A, road wheel A is B, road wheel B is C, and then you have the idler wheels. So you got to pay attention to that. It helps the process go a lot quicker. So the next thing I'm going to do is, I painted all the metallic gray components and stuff like that, and some of the tools and stuff I've been slowly working on. And the next step that I'm going to do today, probably right after this actually, is I'm going to airbrush all the tracks black, because I've done it by hand before and it just takes too much time. But I remember specifically that time I didn't want to airbrush. Sometimes I just don't care about airbrushing and I will hand paint stuff. I'm kind of breaking out of that habit, but it doesn't matter for you personally, whatever you want to do. So here's all the wheels. So this is a wheel. So I'm going to make a pile of all the A wheels. I think that's all of them. Yep. And the B wheels. Whoop. Stay there. Put him in the back. The drive sprockets have polycaps in them, and you kind of put these on last. And the reason why they have polycaps is so you can move them and then put the tracks in place. You can measure them up. You don't have to worry about any of that crap. Oh, here's one more. So they've, Tamiya has really gone above and beyond the call for doing these. But I specifically wanted to do a video on the wheels, like putting them on here, because when I did the Tiger, I didn't exactly secure them properly, and it ran into problem with the tracks in the long run. Versus when I did like the Panzer Kampfwagen, it was kind of easy to do and the tracks fit perfectly. So make sure you have these things nice and tight, built properly, and fit them properly on here. So doesn't seem like there's a kind of like a 1, 2, or 3, but I'm guessing you start with B, and B fits on the shorter pegs like that. So what I want to do is just paint a bit of this on here, and I'm going to make sure that the parts, what I did before is there's 2 pin marks on the wheels, on the sprue where you cut them off. So there's one on the top and one on the bottom. And I tried to line those up as best I could. That way I don't have to go back and actually clean them. I can I can just put the tracks on top and I don't have to worry about those. Oh, come on, red light? Seriously? Red battery? Ay, ay, ay. So let's just... See, I'm putting them on here, but I'm kind of pressing them in as well, because I don't want to have any slip-ups. So let's just see, now you can see how those fit nice and tight on top of each other, and they look really good. So yeah, let's just do these two. I'm gonna go, hopefully this battery will hold just for a few seconds more so I can finish this. Okay, and I'm supposed to use one tan here. So one tan one goes here. And now one brown one goes here. So there's 3 brown ones that you're supposed to paint up. Like that. So that's basically it. It's pretty simple. Remember just to keep them nice and tight and as straight as you can. They've done an excellent job engineering this thing, so you shouldn't have any problems with it, and if you do have problems, it's probably human error. So the last, so I did 2 more brown ones. Oop, that one doesn't want to fit. There we go. Oh, broke that off. That's an easy fix. And one more tan one. Pretty good. So, that's about what it'll look like. That's pretty darn cool.